Gary Williams here. Some friends of mine are making a difference in the community, and one of the ways they're doing that is helping to sponsor this podcast. Petroselli Homes Realty Group is a boutique brokerage service located in downtown Niles. They offer a personal and intentional touch to the home buying and selling market. They take the time to learn each client's story, much like this podcast, because to them, the first step in linking buyers to the home of their dreams starts with understanding and a great deal of trust. John and Jennifer Petroselli have had the honor of helping countless buyers and sellers make effective real estate decisions to plant their roots, raise their families, expand their wealth, or simply relax and retire. So if what I've described is what you might be looking for in a realtor, I suggest getting in touch with Petroselli Homes on Niles Boulevard in downtown Niles. Now, coming to you straight from Fremont, California, this is the Fremont Podcast, dedicated to telling the stories of the past and present of the people and places of the city of Fremont, one conversation at a time. Now, here's your host, Ricky B.
Hello, Fremont. You are listening to episode number 12. Yes, episode number 12. If you are listening to this episode in the middle of your work week on Wednesday afternoon and you are thinking that you just need a break from the rest of the week, well, I have some good news for you. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, and although we are not technically Irish here, although I'm sure there are some people who claim and that are Irish in our community. Tomorrow, St. Patrick's Day, we can all celebrate with the Irish. And there is not a better place to do that and to celebrate St. Patrick's Day than Jack's Brewing Company down in the hub, in the same shopping center as Target. Well, Jack's Brewing Company has been around in Fremont for quite some time, but now they have new owners, and the new owners are doing some amazing things. I had the opportunity to sit down with them in this episode and talk with them about what it's like to have their own brewing company and what it's like to become new owners in the middle of the COVID pandemic. And this is just a great conversation. Their vision for what they want to do and all that they are making out of that company is fantastic. And we're going to share that with you right now on this episode. All right, I am sitting with Trisha and Brian from Jack's Brewing Company. And this is located down in Fremont Hub area, I guess is what we call the Fremont Hub now. And I am excited to be able to hear their story. They are new owners of this restaurant, this establishment, and but it's been around for a while. And you guys knew the previous owners.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear that story. I want to know how that all came about. But before we get into that, let's hear a little bit about you guys. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up here in Fremont, or where? What brought you to Fremont?
I grew up in Santa Clara. I lived there. My family came from Pennsylvania, from Erie originally, and so I grew up in Santa Clara. I went to school in Los Angeles, and when we were coming back, I was working up in San Francisco and was trying to find a place where I could live and also work in San Francisco with somebody that was also working down in the Valley. Okay. So Fremont was a nice middle place for us. Yeah. And so we kind of ended up choosing Fremont, but it was a very deliberate choice. Okay. And I've been here ever since. Okay. So, yeah.
Well, we have to pause on that. Why do you say deliberate? Why was Fremont your...
I was looking something that was reminded me of Santa Clara back when I grew up there. Santa Clara really has built up a lot. Okay. And when we first moved to Fremont, it still had the community centers and the Lake Elizabeth area and hiking trails and the Alameda Creek Trail. And I really liked the location and access, close to the beach, close to the oceans. It was like a really nice location
great spot
to be right in. Yeah. So it kind of just fit what I was looking for and what I was hoping for my kids and the school system and everything. So kind of just gelled here.
So how long have you been in Fremont now then?
trying to think. I knew you were going to ask me that, and I'm like, I'm really bad with like the number of years. I think I moved here I got married at Ardenwood Farm in Fremont, and I got married in 97.
Okay.
And prior to that, I'd been living here about 4 years.
Okay.
So
like
about 94.
Okay. Yeah.
Something like that.
Getting close to that 30-year mark.
A while, yeah.
Well, you must have moved here when you were 10 because you don't even look 40. So
bless you for saying.
Yeah. And so you're here now. You've been here for almost 30 years. And what has your time been like now since you've lived here? I mean, what have you been doing all this time? Because you're a new owner of Jack's.
I am the new owner of Jack's, and actually have to say that I've been coming to Jack's since it opened here in the hub. So I'm not only the owner now, I used to be a regular. So I've been coming here for a while, back when it was the Tavern on the Green down on Stevenson Boulevard.
Okay.
Even. So mostly because I like their fish and chips. But, it's I've been in Fremont. I was the president of the local mothers club when my kids were itty bitty.
Wow.
And so
that's cool.
I met some fabulous people, kind of transitioned to like doing the whole PTA stay at home mom thing. And I just loved being at the school. So I went back and got my credential when my daughter got to first grade.
Okay.
And I've been teaching now at Fremont Unified. This is my 12th year.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So
wow.
I kind of transitioned into the school system that way.
Yeah.
And then I like to give back to the community. So I'm also a candlelighter and one of the people that helps with the ghost house here at the hub.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of like want to, do a lot of community.
So you spent a lot of time at Jack's as a customer, so you paid a lot of money into the business. Although
I wouldn't say a lot of time. I'm not here all the time, but I am here all the time now.
Yeah. But you have a healthy respect for the community, and you have poured into our school system as well for the last 12 years. That's really cool.
Totally true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brian, how long have you been in Fremont, and what brought you here?
So I've been in Fremont for about 7 years now, 6-7 years. I lived in Oakland for about 20 years with my first wife. Once we had met in Boston, where I had gone to school and spent about 11 years. I grew up in Wisconsin, so Go Packers.
Go Pack.
But so I went to the East Coast for school, met my first wife there, who was from Berkeley. So she was tired of cold weather, and we wanted to come out. And so we spent some time in Oakland, and Oakland is a great place. It's pretty diverse as well as like Fremont. But when push came to shove and I needed to find something else, I had found a friend group down here in Fremont and just loved the place. It's, much more relaxed. It's a really approachable place. Lots of fun people, lots of fun things to do. Well, there were more. There are fewer now that Cloverleaf is gone. But yeah, so I met Trisha about 7 years ago as well. We were friends then, and then we got to know each other a lot better and got married last year.
Wow.
And so we're here.
So you're newlyweds. Last year you got married, newlyweds, and now you're new business owners as well.
Yeah.
How does that feel? Is that exciting, scary, all of the above?
The really cool part about it for me is that I think one of our actual first dates, like a date, like we'd been friends for a while, but it was like let's try to date, and then I got really awkward again, and we came here, and we talked about, because that's a first date kind of question, like, where do you see yourself and what do you want to do when you retire? And I told you, I'm like, I can't imagine stopping doing stuff. I'm a busy human, and I like to keep busy, and I didn't want to just be like up in the country somewhere doing nothing. I wanted to do something fun. And he said, well, what would you want to do? And I said, well, probably like a bed and breakfast. And he was like, I've always wanted to have a bar. And I said, I would love to own this place. And I talked about all the things I would do.
This was a conversation
restaurant.
You had 7 years ago?
Yes. Yeah. In this restaurant. Well, I want to say more like 5, actually.
Yeah, closer to 5.
But like we talked about but I would do this different, and I would put up like the twinkle lights, and I would do this stuff, and we would change this and that, and we talked about all that stuff. And then when it came to actually we started looking at restaurants in Washington State, and maybe
wineries,
we should move.
Restaurants.
What should we do?
We
were thinking about what would our next move be 10 years from now, right? We're talking about not now, but like in 10 years.
Yeah.
And because I would retire from teaching and we would do something.
Get out of my software business.
And we would find a restaurant like similar to this place. And we always would come back to this, similar to this one. But obviously they're running it and they're the same age as us. So it's never going to be free when we want it. So, and then I remember you came home one day and went, you want to actually buy the real thing? I was like, yes. And then I went, wait, yes. It was very, and and a lot of people kept telling us, you're not serious, you're going to change your mind. And we were like, no, like we've talked about it so much that we were like, instead of finding something that was like this, we could actually do what we've been talking about to the actual place. And it was just like a really, both of us just couldn't say no. It was a great chance to do something that we were both really pretty passionate about, doing something in hospitality and having something that had a more community focus. We cleaned up the back room so we could have community groups here. We have a Rotary group that meets here. Wow. Some of the candlelighters meet here. We've had a PTA club come in. I just having that opportunity for people to
come together.
I love that. Well, and I didn't say this to you before, but it is, that everyone hears, if you're listening to the podcast, you hear at the very beginning, bringing the, I don't know if exactly it says, but bringing the community of Fremont together one conversation at a time. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that you guys, that is a vision that you guys have for this place, to be a place where conversations can happen, community can come together.
I just love how people meet each other across the bar and become friends and then see each other regularly. And
it's like our own version of Cheers, right?
Yeah,
it's
very
like
much
everyone knows your name.
Very much so. There is a crew of people that kind of gets to know everybody else, and it becomes very friendly. And I think both of us, when we thought about it, we sat down and we were like, we're going to come mission statement kind of thing. We're going to start from a mission statement, and one of them has I think it has the word cozy in it. Like we wanted something that was like you felt like you could hang out and you didn't feel like you'd have to leave.
Yeah, well, the thing is that when I hear that, and this is one of the things that I really enjoyed about some of the other business owners that I've interviewed so far, and that is, we're in the shadow of the Silicon Valley. You got the tech companies around here, and I think I could be wrong. Maybe I'm stereotyping companies and they would get offended by this, but I don't think that you're going to see on any of their mission statements the word cozy, right?
Probably not.
And I think,
although I don't know that they should.
Right, exactly.
A good business model for them.
But I think that the thing is that I think that's something that is important to maintain in our community, and that is that we do have a place that we don't feel disconnected because we're so attached to our apps or our social media or whatever, that we actually can go to a physical place and look people physically in the eyes and share a drink and be able to just have a good time, build that relationship, and kind of cozy on up to your neighbor, Right. And I think that's just a great word to have in a mission statement. That's really great.
And I think one of the things we really wanted to do too was bring in a little of the diverse, represent Fremont, and the community itself. So we went ahead and did things like got the soccer package as part of what we do. We can show cricket on TV because Fremont puts in a cricket field.
Absolutely.
There's obviously people playing. Maybe they would like to watch some too.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we're trying to do is kind of like even stuff out a little bit
awesome.
In the community. And we also are doing things like that with even the beer. All of our stuff is really local.
Yeah.
We do carry Das Brew on our things. We're trying to...
Beautiful.
Jan's been a really great supporter for us.
Are you guys still brewing your own beer then? I see everything over there, and it looks like it's...
that's a crazy story too, actually.
Well, tell me, what's going on with that? Because I think that's important.
Over the summer, because I'm a teacher, I always like to try to do something weird and interesting over the summer that I don't get a chance to do regularly.
Okay.
Like one year I dealt blackjack at parties. Just for fun. And show up a couple places and deal blackjack and talk to people. But last year I worked at Ardenwood Farm with Ardenwood Events as a bartender for weddings. And that was my summer gig.
Wow.
And my daughter ended up getting a job there in catering, and so I got to see a little bit more of her, which was fun. And but it was really, really interesting people and the people watching and things like that. And I had told the owner over there that I was going to buy this place, but we were kind of sworn to secrecy at the time. But I'm like, but because it's a similar business model, I kind of wanted to get some information from her on things like pint glasses and stuff like that. It was like on that level. And she has an uncle who was business partners with our current brewer. So that's kind of how it kind of came together. She's like, and we had just found out as part of this salt process that their brewer had quit and there was no brewer and he had a baby up in Napa and couldn't come back down. And we were like, now we don't have a brewer and we don't know anybody that brews. And I was like, where do you get your beer? And she was getting beer at the time from a distributor and also Das Brew. And so we were talking to Jan a little bit, but we were like, we kind of need a brewer. And she's like, I think I know a guy, right? And he turns out to be just like a fantastic guy. I mean, honestly, he wanted to start his own place awesome. And then COVID hit. Yeah. He was going to start a place down in San Jose.
Well, he has a brewing company. I mean, so shout out to Patrick Wolpert, our brewer, and Unreal Brewing in San Jose.
Wow, what a great name too for Patrick. I mean, St. Patrick's. I mean,
of course.
My name's Patricia, right? Let's just go for it. My mother's maiden name's O'Hara. There you go. We're just kind of
Perfect.
My grandfather came from Ireland.
There you go. We're just bringing it all back to Ireland at that point.
There you go.
But Patrick has his own brewery business, and he also brews, and he has to borrow equipment to do it. So he rents equipment time at S27, and so we're kind of like, well, come brew for us. You can brew your stuff here, brew our stuff here, and we can.
So is that the deal? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So
oh my goodness,
we've
that's
got
awesome.
two things on. We made something, and I love this name, and I know you hate it, but I'm sorry. We inherited the place, but they hadn't brewed for a while. But we did have good ingredients for beer still left over.
Okay.
And so we were kind of like, could we use the stuff that's left over and actually create a brew that would let us test the equipment, because it hadn't been run in 8 months. And we didn't want to make a lot, but he's like, so we called it for a while the Franken Brew. It was around Halloween. We were like,
that's awesome.
Franken Brew, right? Like Frank, a little part of this guy and a part of this guy.
Yeah.
And we kind of came up with the session seasonal, more seasonal session.
Session seasonal is what I came up with.
Okay, we
call it the
name.
Dirty Brunette.
And the beauty of it is that it was just stuff we found in the back, and then it became like a very drinkable, lovely beer, well carbonated and good. And so then we had him do it again with some other stuff we found.
With the last of the stuff.
With the last of the stuff, and it became a really dark we call it the Cara wheat.
Dark, sexy Cara wheat.
There we like the sexy. I don't know why. Yeah.
It's an interesting beer because it's like a wheat beer, so it's got a lighter body to it.
Yeah.
But it's pitch black.
Oh, it looks like
the darkest thing.
Like you said, you're over at Devout. Yeah, like that. It's just like
it's like a nitro pour. It's basically what it looks like.
When you pour it, people go, "Mom," but you didn't taste it. And they go,
"It's very good."
Oh, it doesn't taste like. Yeah, I'm like, it doesn't taste how it looks, but it was an interesting thing. And now that we got through those in the testing process, and we kind of used up what we had, we actually got to go shopping for real stuff that goes with our stuff. So we inherited the beer,
the recipes.
Okay.
So we have the first one that'll come out will probably be Sunday. It looks like
the IPA.
The IPA
coming
out. Yeah. So it'll be the Jack's IPA. It's won awards back when it was first introduced.
Okay.
So this is going to be our take on it, probably a little bit different, but
I'm
it'll
super
still come
excited. Patrick said it's one of the best worts he's tasted, and we're like, man,
and then
that's
it's coming.
awesome.
So who knows how it'll actually come out until the end of when it starts getting the fermentation and the bubbles come in. That's when I can start tasting. After that, when it's flat, I'm like, that doesn't quite taste like beer. So it's hard for me. But and then the one that comes after that is the amber. Which is
our gridiron amber, which
That's
is
my favorite.
a favorite for a lot of the locals. So
okay, are you going to be looking to market it other places then as well, or are you just going to keep it in house for the time being?
Keep it in house for the time being. Part of this is we're both very new to the restaurant and brewing business,
right?
And so only a few months old. So we got to keep it as simple as possible first, and then we'll look at expanding business and moving it up. And
so we're super.
But we've been asked many times about hey, can we get it here? Can we get it at the Elks Club? Can we get it? Not yet.
Just keep it here.
Keep it here for them.
Yeah,
well,
and
that's
honestly,
awesome.
it's kind of fun because we could eventually do stuff like that, but right now we're just gonna keep it in house, and it's kind of
make it special
cool.
here. Make it a special place.
Exactly right.
Something that people
Some
can
people come
look
in and they're
forward
so
to.
mad though. They're like, "How come you don't have your own beer on tap?" And I'm like, "Well, it takes a month to brew beer. We've been here for 3 months, and we kind of did a 2 at a time thing here at the end, and it's been a little tricky that way. But I'm like, like 4 is really good for being 3 months, and we're so proud.
Right. Yeah. Well, that is awesome. Good for you guys. I'm proud of you guys as well. That's cool. So I kind of going back just a little bit, and I think I mentioned this before, but you knew the previous owners then?
Yeah, Kurt and Chrissy.
Okay, and then were you close to them, or just kind of like kind of knew them casually over the years? Or
yeah, kind of got to know them, a little bit before the pandemic, but when the pandemic hit,
okay,
they were already in the process of trying to sell this, but they were keeping it on the down low.
Okay.
And they realized that they should reopen it, at least through the kitchen and stuff, due to go orders, but people kept calling. So they started doing that when they reopened during the pandemic, and then when they could open the outside seating and get the pop-up going, then started coming back. And I got to know them quite well, just in days coming in and talking with them about stuff and things like that.
Well, speaking of that, I mentioned this to Trisha already, but this was the first place that I ate indoors once they opened for indoor dining. And I came in here just to get a burger with a friend, and we were the only ones in the whole. I literally thought the place would be packed. I mean, I'm like, people are gonna come flooding in. They just opened. Today's the first day we can eat inside, and had the place to ourselves. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is a good sign or a bad sign, because people are so hesitant to get back into the norm.
Yeah, it's interesting to see kind of how the pattern goes. Coming of course from the school system, I'm like really interested in keeping everybody safe, especially at the beginning when the kids can't get vaccinated. And I was very concerned about like bringing things in, how this would work, because everyone kind of has to unmask in order to eat, and so trying to do the safest things we could do. So we definitely had a bowl of masks at the door and hand sanitizer and lots of signage and every other booth and things like that. And it's been really great now to see. I remember like we kind of had a little mini panic there into Christmas time when the Omicron thing kind of came back.
And then you're like, where's this going to go?
We were crazy enough to try. We started trying to buy this in June, so it took a long time to get there. And June, everything was still very much shut down, and we were like, the timing might just not work out for us. And so there was a lot of risk at that point. And so when we were able to open on November 19th and go from there, and to have just December turn around and just like, everybody stayed back at home, and it was hard, and the weather got bad and no one could sit outside, and we were like, we can do this. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And so it took a minute to kind of get the momentum back. But I feel like, and the weirder part I think for me is we bought basically a sports bar, and I thought that after football ended that we would see fewer and fewer people. But it turns out that people really are interested in coming back together, and they miss being with people, and they miss coming out, and to a point where I think our best day to date was a random Thursday in February.
Really?
It wasn't Valentine's Day. It wasn't anything. There was no sports on. There was no Warriors game. It was just people were like, it's a nice sunny day, and people wanted to be out.
Wow.
So we've been really thankful that people are still coming, and that
great.
They tell 2 friends.
Are you guys feeling good about everything now? I mean, I know there's kind of some of that hesitancy and some of that,
It is still a restaurant, and restaurants are margin thin, very, very thin. There's always a little bit of concern there, but at the same time, I think it's fabulous people coming out and just people just getting into a rhythm that's there's a new normal, not the old normal, but a new normal, and people are really starting to get kind of hey, let's go out and do something. And we're seeing like larger groups of people, like when they're done with soccer, they come out and they play.
It's
they
so
come out
exciting to see the different people that come. And
well, I mean, I'm looking at people listening can't see your faces, but I think when you talk about the business side of it, I can see that it obviously is a chore, or not necessarily a chore, but it has to be done.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about the people, all of a sudden your eyes light up, and I think that's just really great. I think we need places like that. We need people like you to do that. That's awesome. So tell me about St. Patrick's Day. We've got that coming up, and I'm going to be posting this right before St. Patrick's Day, so people can hopefully use it as a little nudge to get out. But what are you guys doing for St. Patrick's Day? Anything big and special, or
kind of? So I'm actually nervous about St. Patrick's Day. It's traditionally been one of the biggest days for Jack's, and I have been here for St. Patrick's Day specifically in the past, and it is a nice, busy environment. And we are doing a special. And we're going to do the corned beef and cabbage.
Yep,
And
the traditional one that's
very
been going here
traditional.
for years.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
cooks, same recipe, the whole thing. Because I know a lot of people expect that in town. But we're adding a little mix. I have a friend. She's a band, and she's a drummer in a band. And her bandmates are going to come out and play for us some live music. We're
Nice.
super excited.
That's
it's our
awesome.
first attempt at a live music thing.
Music? That's
I know.
great.
But
Wow.
they usually play at Murphy's for the Irish Festival.
Okay.
And
Oh.
but Murphy's is doing something much smaller this year.
So-
and you have to be like from the area to do it. But Charlie's up in San Francisco and Carr's out in Newark, and so they're going to come out here and they're going to. It's soft for us because they're really good friends, and so I feel like if we like blow all our circuit breakers or something, we will learn some new things about how our businesses arrange, and we'll be able to make improvements from there.
Yeah.
But it's going to
Yeah.
be very much a test run for us in a lot of aspects. And so we're really trying to, what did we say? Get the restaurant first date ready. That's what we call it.
That's exactly right.
So
First
we have,
date ready.
because it's always been a place where you could go hang out with your friends, but it's not ever really been a place where you could bring a date for the first time and have it not, be like, I don't know, like
a
nice,
negative or a bad
like,
experience.
just
Want to make
like,
sure it's the right experience.
come
That's
on
right.
in and have a first date here. And so we're gonna
getting
try
there.
some stuff that's new for us, and so we're fingers
Yeah.
crossed. We're excited, but I'm also just like really. I just bought a fire pit. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, for the outside patio, so
Oh,
people can make a little
wow.
couch seating.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous, excited because I don't know how it's gonna
Today
all
was
come
the
together.
day we started ordering corned beef.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we've got
And
that.
so now we're on the hook for it.
Now
We're like,
on the hook
please,
for
please,
corned
please.
beef. So please come
Well,
out.
There's a nerve. There's a
I will
nerve
say
to it.
this, that I think that, I think that's awesome. I think you should just,
I know. Go treacherous French.
Make-
Thanks for coming.
yeah.
Exactly right.
Make it big, and then have a follow-up. If you don't sell the corned beef, hopefully you do. But if you don't,
Oh, yeah.
then
Corned
do a
beef sandwiches.
follow-up for next
We've
weekend
been
or
looking at all
whatever.
the
Yeah.
things we can make. I feel like that. I'm so pessimistic. I'm always like, okay, what else can we do?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, it's gonna be fine. I'm like,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we're also we just got a hold of the distributor during the pandemic. A lot of businesses kind of ate each other in a way,
yeah.
right?
Merged.
Things got merged and
Yeah.
stuff. And so the distributor for Guinness in the Bay Area got merged into a larger company. And so we've been trying to contact them. And they finally got back to us today. So
Okay.
hopefully we'll have Guinness on tap
Oh,
as
nice.
well.
Yeah.
Which will
Yeah.
be another.
Well, I was just in
an
Ireland.
interesting draw.
Yeah, I was just in Ireland for Thanksgiving, and so I got to try the corned beef, and I got to try all the stuff that Ireland has to offer there. So it's just really, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think this is great. I mean, you guys are already decorated for it. Or I'm sure there's more coming, but you guys are already decorated. Maybe there's not, but it's already decorated. I'm already feeling the spirit, so that's great.
there can be. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you're bringing the band in, if you're bringing all that stuff in,
Yeah.
that's great.
We'll see how it
I'm
goes.
excited for you guys, and I love the fact that in the middle of the pandemic, when you would think this is the least likely time for anything new to happen or to try something new because there's so much risk. I think it's just beautiful to see you starting something fresh and jumping into this, and something that was part of a conversation that you had maybe 5 years ago about what this might look like is now a reality.
It's crazy.
And-
Yeah. I think one of the better things too is that we were able to retain all the staff
Yeah.
and all the cooks and all the. I mean, we. Somebody said, "Are you having this big grand opening?" I said, "We're sneaking in like ninjas in the night. We don't want
the only
anyone
thing
to know
changed
that
is
we
the
even
owner.
changed.
We don't want to know it's different.
Just slow and steady little things, and then just like here and there, we kind of poke at things and try to kind of narrow things down. But we were really lucky that this has been a beloved place in the community for a while.
Sure.
And so it's I think there's a lot of good fortune that comes to us because it's got a lot of
It's established its
positives
roots.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
As we're going here, let me ask you this, and I might already know this because we just had this conversation. But if you were to look at what you hope Jack's will be 5 years from now, or you think about what Jack's will bring to the community 5 years from now, what does that look like for you?
That's a good question.
That's a really good question.
From my perspective, I think I really want it to be a place where people come and can have conversations and just, get to know each other. Because we as a community, we're still diverse a little bit, like separated diverse.
Absolutely.
And we really need to come together. And this is a place that we want to be, kind of that central point. We are the hub, we're at the hub, we're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Everybody come in and
that's great.
And see what's going on.
Well, one of the things that I think about when I think of this sort of thing, and I can see it in your eyes, which I think is really great, and that is, I've read articles by Forbes and other, magazines like that who've come out with these articles that talk about investing in experiences instead of products. And I think that, what's interesting is that when I hear about what excites you and when you look to the future of what you're doing here, you keep reverting back to the idea of experiences. Mm-hmm. You keep reverting back to the conversations, the people, the events that can be done, or the sort of community that can be cultivated here. And not necessarily, you were excited about, getting a brewer and getting somebody, getting all that going as well. And that would be kind of more classified as a product. But when I see you and I hear about what you have to bring, it is an experience that you want to bring to people.
I think that, you've got a lot of choices of where to eat in Fremont. And there's a lot of, you can, and I don't know, I think especially with the COVID, the DoorDash community, right? You can bring anything into your own house.
You don't have to leave anywhere.
Right?
You don't have to leave home.
And honestly, there's a lot of great restaurants in Fremont. And so, what would make us different than any of the other places where you could grab a beer and a burger, right? But at the same time, I think that we are a little bit different, but it's the people.
Yeah.
It would be 100% the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just you never know who's going to kind of walk in. And sometimes it's crazy. We were doing, we were setting up for the 49ers game, and we're just hanging out, blowing up some balloons, minding our own business. And Channel 2 came in and went, "Hey, can we interview you?" And I was like, "What?" Why us?
Yeah.
But okay, yeah,
that's
come in.
Great.
They're like, "We usually go to Walnut Creek, but we were down here already." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, come on in." So we've just been really exceptionally lucky.
Blessed.
Meeting you, having you guys come in.
Yeah.
I think that the people that come in, that they say things like, "I'm bringing my uncle here next week." You're like, "All right, come back." So it's that kind of thing where you kind of just want to share that kind of, I don't know, good vibes.
Good vibes.
That's
good
great.
Vibes, all right.
That's
so
great. I've never disclosed this on the podcast, but I am a huge Green Bay Packer fan. Brian, it's so good to find somebody that also is a Green Bay Packer fan, and to have an officially certified Packer bar in town. I live 2 miles away, so I know that it's nearby. So I'm excited to cheer for the Packers here.
Go Niners.
And Raiders.
You gotta,
I noticed you referred to the game as the Niners game
as
opposed to the Packers game.
I am from Santa Clara.
That was a
little bit of it.
Yeah,
that hurt a little
I
bit.
grew up in Santa Clara with Joe Montana playing.
Oh, that's
you
right.
gotta, you gotta own what you own, right?
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me and being on the podcast. I love this, and I look forward to being back and seeing the future of what you guys are doing here.
Thanks so much.
This would be great.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
You've been listening to the Fremont Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you listen so you don't miss an episode. And if you're so inclined, leave a kind review so that others can find the podcast. To stay connected with us, you can find links to our social media and other content at thefremontpodcast.com. This episode was hosted, edited, and produced by Ricky B. Music provided through Soundstripe.com. I'm Gary Williams. Join us next week on the Fremont Podcast.
Muggins Media.